Hello, my name is Alpha Omega. I am a Splatoon series speedrunner, and this is going to be a submission for for AGDQ 2023 for the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion 80% no death abuse category. So a little personal information. I'm an English VTuber that mostly does speedrunning and Splatoon related content. I've been streaming for around about 6 months now, so a little bit of experience under my belt. Some information about the category. Splatoon 2 Octo expansion was released in the summer of 2018, about a year after Splatoon 2 as a game as a whole was released. And as of right now, the current world record is a 106. Shoot, why can't I not remember? Is a 106.50 something by Canadian runner Lantro. This is the run I am currently commentating over is my personal best run of 1 hours, 10 minutes, and 40 seconds. And I guess I'll go ahead and get right into commentating. So first thing you may notice is that we are running in Spanish. That is because Spanish is the fastest language in the game by about 3 seconds for NTSC consoles. Saves 3 seconds over English, which is, it's not a massive amount of time saved, but it's not nothing. So right now we're just going through the tutorial and making sure that everything is, going to plan as it should be going to plan. I don't know. It's really hard to commentate this when you haven't watched the category in a while. So, finish up the tutorial and we're going to, still very early game. This beginning section is basically muscle memory for me at this point. So, coming up next, we're going to meet the main antagonist of the group, or of the category, the main antagonist of the story. God, I cannot speak correctly today. Sea Cucumber, who, at the moment, disguises himself as a telephone. So, this is basically just saying, oh, hey, welcome to the Deep Sea Metro. I'm the guy that's going to be guiding you through this, whatever. All this text is just straight mashable, so, in Splatoon 1, we had to worry about text scroll speed, because a good portion of the text at the beginning of the game was, you couldn't mash through it. You had to wait for each character to show up on the text box, which meant that Japanese was faster by a significant amount. With this, thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. We can just go through like normal. And the main reason why Spanish is faster, even though we can match through text boxes, is because there's overall fewer text boxes that we have to go through. So right now we're getting onto the train, which is where about the first 2/3 of the run will take place, which consists of us completing different levels and going through and trying to make our way to find the 4 things. The 4 things are basically the 4 checkpoints of the run, if you could consider them that. And there's 2 on the right side and there's 2 on the left side of the subway system. We already know the fastest path on how to get to these things, and basically all the any % run is about is getting those things as fast as we can and going through the escape sequence of this category. The reason why this is considered no death abuse is because there's a mechanic in the game that if you die a certain number of times on a specific level, you are able to skip the level for the same price as it costs to actually play the level. The main reason we don't allow this in any % no death abuse is because it takes out a lot of the more skill-based levels within the run, as well as basically rendering the entire escape sequence useless, because we just use death abuse to essentially skip the hardest parts or the longest parts. And as such, any % no death abuse, or any % NDA for short, is generally the most run category of Octo expansion. So this first level is where we get a little bit of story. We have these Octarians that are a different color than normal as compared to our own octopus, who is relatively normal, or looks relatively normal to an inkling that we would normally use in a Splatoon 1 or 2 run. This first level also gives us a good introduction on how the majority of the Octo expansion will work. Basically, you have to complete a task and get to the goal and hit the goal to complete the level. Let's see. Oh yeah, as of time of recording this, Splatoon 3 has just come out, and I'm sure that's going to be submitted by at least one other person. I think a few other people are submitting the category of Splatoon 3 any%, which has seen a lot of growth over the past 2 weeks since the game's release. So that's the first level finished for Octo Expansion AO5. Not my best time on the level, but a few misses here that, or a few mistakes here or there, it happens. We're getting our next cutscene here, which is where we are introduced to Pearl and Marina, the two main idols from Splatoon 2, who formed the group Off the Hook. We weren't sure if we were going to see them in the regular hero mode, but we ended up not seeing them there. So when we got Octo Expansion and saw that these two were in it, there was a lot of excitement in the community being able to see the game's idols in more depth than we normally would. I'm not sure if you can tell, but in the bottom right corner, my chat is yelling at me in Spanish, mostly just because I am running the game in Spanish and they thought it would be funny to insult me like that. So this next level, AO6, is going to be our first example of a global cycle in the run. So we have a cycle here that we are trying to hit that allows us to save about, I want to say it's about 10 seconds, I forget the exact numbers. And it is extremely tight, and I actually end up missing it in this run just because I didn't quite get enough distance on that jump. Thankfully, I'm pretty good at the backup strategies, so ended up losing, I believe, about 10-ish seconds over my PB on this level in particular, which at the end of the day, it's not an insanely large margin for this category, especially when you're pacing around about 10th to 12th in the world. And going back to this, as I finish up this level, going back to the history of Octo Expansion at GDQ events, it's only been run once before. It was run at AGDQ 2019, if I remember correctly, by the runner Tones Ballones. So it's been about 4 years since the category has been run at an AGDQ event, or any GDQ event. I believe it hasn't been on Hotfix. So it'd be really nice to be able to get this category back into the spotlight, especially with Splatoon 3 now out and the speedruns of it being quite insane. So yeah, I've lost 10 seconds to my goal there. You know, not the best, but also not the absolute worst. A little bit of frame drop there. That's just my college internet being bad. So this next level, AO7, Maverick Station. This is our first notable skip of the run. It's essentially a complete. We basically skip half the level thanks to the mechanics of the inkjet, which is the special weapon I'm currently using. Using its boost function, we are able to skip this first gap and then use this moving platform to give ourselves a boost to get to the last checkpoint. And while the category is called No Death Abuse, you may notice, hey, I kind of died there to skip a checkpoint. We don't count that because No Death Abuse refers only to the skip function in the game. That's a skip that we just found, I think, pretty early on into the game, so it's considered fair game. The next level, CO3 AO8, is going to be the first 8-ball station of the run. For any of those who have played Octo Expansion, 8-ball levels can be your worst enemy in this game. And that's mostly down to the function of, or that's mostly down to how they function as an item within the game itself. 8-balls are weird in the sense that they move directly parallel to your position to them. So you'll see here, if I'm directly behind it, no matter where I shoot on the ball, it's going to go straight ahead. And that can cause some weird interactions. I got a little bit of a bad bounce there, so I almost died, but able to save it. However, I do actually end up dying here, as to me not getting the ball far enough to the side. That death loses about 10 seconds, if I remember correctly. Again, I forget the exact number, but it's not the end of the world to have that death there. Able to get it second try though, so always good. And then this ending section got a little bit hairier than normal. That there probably loses about 5 seconds. So, you know, in this case, I'm not expecting this to go perfectly, or rather, I'm not expecting this level to be to gold by any means, because my current gold was in really, really good. But I actually end up getting a really good ending section here. This is the part of the level that most people just absolutely hate, myself included, because if this ball hits any of the sides, it just goes bouncing all over and we lose about 5 seconds. But thankfully that ending basically kept this run alive, because I saved 16 possible seconds out of 32. If I hadn't had those incidents with the 8-ball falling off the edge and almost falling off the edge again on that same checkpoint, there's a good chance I actually would have golded, because the ending was just very good. This is the next character, and honestly the most forgettable of them all, or the one that we interact with the least. This is Isopadre. He is, at least if you're playing through Octo Expansion normally, each time you complete a line, so any section of levels, you see the A line there, the one in yellow, which is actually the only one we complete in the actual run itself. When you complete a line, he gives you a piece of gear for using the online multiplayer, but we don't care about the online multiplayer in this run, so we basically ignore him. So up next is the level Shrinking Station. This goes off of the level gimmick that you only have a limited amount of ink to progress through the level. If I remember correctly, it is about 32 shots of the base splatter shot. And as you can see, I'm already running pretty low. I think at this point I have like 10 shots left. But thanks just due to how the level works, I know that I am fine and I'm not going to be running out of ink, thankfully. I lose a little bit of time to my goal there, just due to me not playing it perfectly and overall just being a little bit slow throughout the run, but throughout the level rather. But all in all, not bad. Up next is one of the make or break stations of the run. This is Radical Rails stations, and essentially our goal is to break all of the targets that you see on the rails that you see spinning around. Unsurprisingly, this level is cycle-based, so making sure that you get a good start to the level is vitally important. I don't get the best start, missing 2 boxes that I should not be missing, but if I remember correctly, I am able to bring this back somewhat. Yeah, because I get 2 good box hits there. Able to jump over and finish off the level relatively well. I don't get all the time save that's possible for me, because I got an insanely good box level a couple days before this. But if I remember correctly, I basically go even to my personal best. So level after this is Target Buster Station. It is a very simple run through the boxes with a brush, get to the end as fast as you can. Not much to talk about in this level specifically, but again, it's one of those levels, it seems easy at first glance, and for someone who has speedrun the game countless times, well, I had 133 attempts at the time of this recording, you know, it does generally become a bit easier. I just don't know what to say right now. So the next level after this one is going to be JO3DO8 station, Girl Power Station. This is commonly regarded as one of the hardest levels if you're doing a casual first-time playthrough of the game. But for speedrunners, it can actually end up being one of the easiest, in generally speaking, in the level or in the run, because we already know where every enemy is going to spawn and at what times they will spawn. So again, we're used to it. We know what every enemy is going to be doing. So at the end of the day, this is essentially a 2.5 minute auto scroller for us. So yeah, I grabbed the splatter shot here because it's the weapon I'm most familiar with. It's the weapon I use in online if I ever do decide to play it. We're able to spawn the enemies early here by shooting them at first. Normally these first rounds of enemies do have a set time at which they spawn, but we are able to spawn them early by shooting them, and that allows us to get through the very beginning section of the level much quicker than normal. I'm doing prep here for the second round of enemies. These enemies in particular start spawning at 44 seconds left on the timer, so I have until then to prep myself for this next round. So when they spawn in, I already know where they're all going to land, so I'm able to go around and just shoot them all. This one here gives me a little bit of trouble because he just goes around the pillar, meaning I can't kill him immediately, but I'm able to get the last one quickly in preparation for the next two. So as you can see, I already know where they're going to be. Again, it's just pure prep at this point. Or it's just pure execution. There's no luck to it. I'm able to finish off the dualies enemy. I finish off the rollers enemy pretty easily. And then I don't even bother touching this last one. This is an AI character that we lovingly refer to in the community as Wall Friend. Because occasionally they'll get stuck on the wall off to my right. And they can't actually end up damaging the orb to the point where we lose the game in the time remaining. So we normally just leave them and interact with them. So after this, we have what I would consider to be either the hardest or second hardest level in the run, JO2 Matchmaster Station. What makes this level particularly difficult, at least to me, is the precision that we need for it. So the basics of this level is that you have a giant statue of an octopus that you have to match without breaking a single wrong box. You can see the completed statue off to the left right here, made up of these gray blocks, and we have to match it with these easily destroyable boxes. What makes this level tricky is that we have the blaster weapon. What a blaster does is that it shoots out a pellet of ink that will explode after a certain amount of time, which we would call sparking. In this level, if a shot sparks, there is I would say about a 90% chance that your run is dead, because we use one spark here in the run. Actually, there's another one there, but it was far enough away that it didn't hit anything. But if you happen to push a shot too close to a non-orange box, one of the whitish tannish ones that you don't want to break, there's a very good chance that it will break, ending your run. And as you can tell, all of these shots are very precise, and this isn't even the fastest known time, like, at all. I forget what the fastest known box time is. I want to say it's a 58 by the current world record holder, Launchero. I forget what my exact box time here is, but I want to say it's like a low 110 or something, 110-ish. You see me shoot the grapple hook off to my side there, because that allows us to move in the middle of that cutscene. Maybe saves about 1 second if it's optimal. And then you're able to jump into the air and grab the goal there, which saves probably half a second. But thankfully that level was actually good enough to beat my gold. So I'm about 12 seconds ahead going into the first boss level. This is also the only boss level we play within the run. It is essentially a redo of the... Why can I not think of the word? It's essentially a redo of one of the boss fights from Hero Mode, so the original single player. In the original single player, we do this run, or we do this level with the charger weapon. In this case, we have the special weapon Inkjet, which gives a whole other dynamic to this boss fight, because no longer, or rather, you no longer have to do, you now have to predict your shots much more rather than just aiming where, well, we still aim where we want the shots to go, but the shots take more time. I get a little bit unlucky here with the movement. I do get my armor broken, but because it's first phase, it's not that big of a deal because on each checkpoint we automatically regain a set of armor if it's broken. The first phase is actually the hardest because where the Octo Shower, the specific boss, goes after you shoot it the first 2 times is completely random. Occasionally we get we get lucky and it goes right in front of us, right in front of our shots, but that's maybe, I give it about 10% of the time. So you see me do, what you see me do there is a set of 4 specific shots that I would say about 90% of the time, or about 100% of the time for top level runners, gets the boss down in, you know, very consistently. You also see me go off to the right here rather than going straight forward at the start. That is because on this specific phase, the boss can actually, if you go straight forward, the boss will move away from you. So going off to the right for a little bit at the very start manipulates the boss's RNG into going where we want it to. So with that boss down, we can now move on to the first Fang level of the run. Admittedly, these are the most boring levels of the run because it is literally just run forward, grab a thing, and that's it. Personally, I would have preferred it if this is actually where they put the boss levels, because it feels a little weird to have a boss level not have a massive reward, but again, that's just me. So I'm about 17 seconds ahead going into this level. Not the best pace I've ever been on. I had a run about a couple days prior to this one where I was about 40 seconds ahead of my personal best going into this level. If I remember correctly, this run was about 3 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, so not exactly the freshest in my mind, but it happens. So on this right side, we now have 2 levels and 1 thing left until we move on to left side. And these 2 levels, the first one is a little bit stressful. The second one is more fun with one specific jump that can be a bit tricky from time to time, but you know, not that. It's tight. Or not tight. It's very precise, but you know, once we have practice on it, it becomes second nature. I had a slight slip up there. I accidentally opened the control menu rather than the just going back to the train, because I somehow mispressed the button and clicked X instead of. It's weird. I somehow clicked X instead of, I forget exactly which, A, instead of the A button. So this level here, we had to defeat 10 enemies while also not falling off, which is really hard to do when you have breakable boxes underneath your feet. But thankfully, we're used to the level. We know where each enemy is going to spawn, and a relatively consistent manner on how to hit them each time. Due to some bad menuing, I did end up losing about 2.5 seconds there to my personal best, but I knew, I mean, hey, as long as I'm ahead after this level, I'm doing well. This specific level, which was J05C14, this one has as I mentioned earlier, this one has a very precise jump towards the end of the level. If we miss it, it loses around, if I remember correctly, 11 seconds. If we do miss the jump, it is technically faster to jump off the edge and get it second try. However, there's no guarantee that you get it second try, so normally we just eat the time loss. And that is actually what ends up happening in this run. I do end up losing. I do end up missing the jump. I believe I jumped a little bit earlier than I should have. But again, I will see momentarily because it's one of those visual things that, like, oh yeah, I recognize immediately that I did it wrong. Was I early on this jump? No, I was late on that jump. And the technique you see me doing here is dually dodge rolling. It is essentially, so the dualies have a the dually weapon class has a mechanic where you're able to roll, and you're able to use this mechanic on grind rails, which is the rail I'm currently on. It saves not much time overall, but hey, it looks cool, and it does actually save a little bit of time. So with that level complete, we are going to the second thing. Yeah, as I said, I lost about 10 seconds there, 10, 11 seconds is relatively normal compared to, you know, optimal. So with us getting this second thing, we are done with the right side of the run. I mean, it is what it is. We're done with it. We don't touch it again until the next run. We essentially repeat the same thing on the left side, just with slightly fewer levels on the left side, just due to where the placement of the things is. So the next level that we're going to be seeing is going to be the level AO4, and this is the only other level that we see in the run that has a specific special weapon applied to it, and in this case it is, well, the only other metro level that we play in this run that has a set special weapon to it. In this case, we're using the Baller Special, which essentially puts your character in a giant hamster ball that you have to navigate these moving platforms in. We have a specific cycle that we're trying to hit that is essentially called left side, and because on the last checkpoint we have two parallel sets of moving platforms that we want to hit, which is the left side and the right side. You know, makes sense between two moving platforms. If we go fast enough through the level, there's I'd say about a half-second window where we're able to stay on the left side, which is the side I'm currently on. I believe I do miss it here. Yep. So I just go over to right side, maybe loses about half a second, as I said. It does mean that I'm not going to gold the level, but I mean, again, it's a very slim margin that I missed that by. Only about 2 seconds time lost there. Up next is BO1 AO3. I forget what the exact name of it is in English, but it is the second and final 8-ball level of the run. There is another route to the run where we do this level. We get to this level on left side first, and then move on to strictly right side. The main reason that's done is just to get these two 8-ball levels out of the way. It's particularly this one, because this one has very specific cycles as well. Personally, I go for the 1 minute 30 second cycle. There is a cycle that allows I believe a 1:23 split time, but that is a very tight cycle that we have to hit, and personally I have never hit it, as you can tell by my golds. I believe I did actually have an opportunity to hit it in this run if I had good movement. That's it right there. But I'm like, I'll take precautions and just wait an extra cycle, and we'll see what happens. Personally, I thought I was actually getting a cycle slower than this, but turns out, as I looked over to my timer once I was done, oh hey, I got the cycle that I really wanted to get. So again, nice little surprise. I think I saved 7 seconds over my personal best, because my personal best got a cycle slower than that. So as you can tell, each cycle saves about 7 seconds. This next level is the only one that we see in the run of the simulated ranked mode. The two of which we get are Rainmaker and Tower Control. So in this case, we have a replication of the map Port Mackerel from the online, in which we have to carry the ranked weapon known as the Rainmaker to the enemy's goal. While the game does give you 5 minutes to complete it, we only end up needing about 40 seconds, maybe a little bit less. Actually, no, I think it's way less than that, because in the end, we only need 4 shots to complete this. So you see the first one there, this gives us a path to the left side. The second shot, again, keeps us going up left side. Fourth shot is, again, to get us up left side. And the last shot, I would say, is the trickiest, because we have to be able to get a path to the final pedestal and ink it at the same time. And the big thing there is just making that shot quickly, as you can see there. It's a very consistent level for me. You know, it is what it is. It's a short level that has a set path. It's gonna be very consistent. As you can see here, we finish up the A line of levels, and what that does is that says to the game, hey, go talk to Isopadre to get a reward for multiplayer. We don't, as I said earlier, we don't care about multiplayer, so we just ignore him and move on to the next level. This level is Geo6A01. It is the second and final dually rail level that we do in the run. This one has slightly trickier jumps than the first one we play. As you can tell by some of this movement, it is incredibly scary at times. What you saw me do there was a trick called a nollie. And essentially what it allows us to do is that if you're firing a weapon or holding a sub-weapon, you're able to get more... Let me see if I can remember. It allows you to get more horizontal movement than you normally would jumping off of a grind rail. It comes into play on 2 levels. This one, as you saw there, and one that comes up in, I believe, 2 levels time. And thankfully, I don't die here. This ending has always been a little bit rough for me, so not dying was very nice to see. I believe I don't quite end up golding this level, but because I played a little bit safer because I didn't want to die. So, you know, always a nice thing to see. Getting almost all the time saved back that we could have possibly gotten. Next level we're going to see is the only, well, no, it's not the only target level, but it's the only target level of this type. This is... I actually forget what the name of the station is, but it's tough, that's what it is. Essentially, we have, I believe it's 45 seconds to break 20 boxes, and if we hit any of these red balloons with X's on them, we die. So, it is what it is. We have a set strategy here. Again, it's cycle-based, that I call the 12-box open. Most people call it that. We throw an extra bomb here in the attempt to break a few extra boxes, as I do. And as you can see, I'm able to get through the level quickly. I believe I only finished about a second off of my gold, yep. My gold was, I got really lucky with where the bomb landed, and, you know, it's going to be tough to beat that, but getting those 4 seconds is very, very important to me, because it means I've done that level well. That level is also particularly risky, because if we die on that level, it's the only level in the run where we have 1 life per credit, or 1 life per credit use. So if we die there, we end up losing even more time than we normally would with a regular death. It also results in us becoming off-cycle, so again, even more time lost than if done optimally. There is a trick on this level that I do not do. It is called Furler Boost, and it's on this checkpoint specifically. Where when we hit that furler, which is the extending part that you see, if we jump in front of it in a particular way, we're able to have it push us forward. So it saves about, I think, 3 seconds. This is the second instance of a nollie in the run. And what allows us to do is get off of this grind rail early and land on the extended furler, and saves about 5 seconds. This last checkpoint is a general just maze of furlers on, hey, where do I want to go? But again, we're speedrunners. We know where we're going, and we're able to get through the level in a very solid time. Up next is the penultimate thing level. It is... And then after this, we have 3 more levels, and then the final thing, including what I would say is, again, as I mentioned earlier, is either the hardest or second hardest level in the run, depending on how you're playing, which is called Damageless, or we nickname it Damageless. But like most of the other things, we're just going up and collecting the item, these various parts of something. It's a blender. The telephone is trying to kill us by blending us into pieces. Spoilers. Now, going back to, the various Splatoon series games that we've seen throughout the years, I would still argue that Octo Expansion is the hardest of them all, of any of the any percents, because it has the highest variety of mechanics that you need to know for the game. I would argue that some of the tricks that we do in Splatoon 3 any percent, more specifically some of the skips, they are definitely harder individually, but as a whole, Octo Expansion requires a much more varied skill set. This level, IO5 B08, is the only rail shooter that we play in the run, where you have one checkpoint, the very beginning, and you have to break 30 boxes in a row, not missing any. If you miss any, there's a 99% chance, well, if you miss any, you're dead. And while this level, normally goes very well, it's one of the most, it's honestly one of the most consistent in the run. If you happen to die towards the end, it's about a minute time loss, so it's essentially a run killer if you die. Especially with how far into the run we are. It may not seem it, but we are over halfway into the run at this point, and any mistake could spell the end of the run. There are 2 methods to do this level. One of them involves shooting those targets in a stack slightly later, allowing us to not have to do this jump here, but I honestly take it with the jump just because it's more comfortable for me and doesn't lose that much time in the long run. With these last 4 targets, we just fire ahead and just aim up slightly as the targets fall, once again saving us time. Up next is the level IO4. Don't touch this station, or can't touch this station rather, or what we refer to in the community as damageless. The main gimmick behind this level is that you cannot take any form of damage whatsoever. That means not stepping in enemy ink for more than half a second at a time, and that also means you can't take any hit of damage from any enemy. I believe that you can take slight amounts of damage from stepping in enemy ink. I believe I actually end up stepping in enemy ink momentarily in this run, in this specific run, but I believe the threshold on how much damage you can take is around like 25 out of 100. I don't have specific numbers on that though, because, who's going to test that? Slight mistake there, I threw a bad curling bomb, which results in me having to do a backup strategy. Thankfully, on this checkpoint, that Octo Trooper, I forget what the name of that enemy is. He has a Gatling gun that he charges once he sees us, but thankfully we don't have to worry about it. And the main thing that we end up doing in this level to help save us time is swimming on a diagonal, because enemies can't aim well. This is one of the more stressful checkpoints, because if those little Octo pods, I think they're called, get even remotely close to us, they will explode and damage us instantly, killing us. This checkpoint is honestly one of the easier ones. Where you have to kill that enemy, throw a curling bomb on a diagonal, and just not get shot by that sniper. I played this penultimate checkpoint a little bit slower than normal. I make sure to kill every enemy because at least at this point in the run, I don't want to lose it. I throw a really bad curling bomb here, resulting in me having to improvise a little bit. And then final checkpoint, we have 6 enemies standing in our way. I kill the first one there. I throw this curling bomb, it goes wildly off target, so I'm in panic mode at this point. And that enemy that I just killed has automatic fire, or essentially machine gun fire. Somehow, none of its shots hit me. I'm able to kill it, make a path to the final jump pad, and still tie my personal best in that level. It was... I don't know how to explain it. It was so lucky that I didn't lose the run right there. So this is the final main level of the Metro. This is IO3 EO1. This is another Defend the Orb level, much like Girl Power Station, but this is a lot easier than Girl Power Station because it has way more predictable patterns. Essentially, this level just follows a right, left, right, left pattern. So as you can see, I know where all of these guys are spawning, and at the end of the day, once you know these patterns, they're one of the easiest things in the world to be able to predict. As you can tell, my hands are shaking a little bit as I do this, because I realize I'm on a run into escape, and this has a really good possibility of getting personal best. As you can see, by my best possible time, I have almost a minute 20 of time save remaining, and that is a lot considering how I've played this run. You know, it's not exactly my best run ever. I did have one run that was even better than this, but that one ended up dying in escape. And that was the fate for a lot of my personal best runs for a while, was them just not having the correct times, or essentially just dying in escape. So next is the 4th and final Fang level. And much like the others, it's the exact same thing as before. You know, get your weapon, run up the slope, grab the thing. My teeny tiny claim to fame in this community is that I actually hold the community gold here on this level by a frame. I don't know how I got it. It was sheer luck on one specific run, and yeah, that's all that happened essentially, was that I just happened to get a really good time on it. So yeah, with that, that is the Metro sequence finished. And that was also my first time ever completing Metro in under 43 minutes from the start of the run. I believe the current best known time out of Metro is around a 40-minute, 52-second time by Montreux. So, you know, still having about 2 minutes to shave off of my Metro, you know, it's not exactly a small amount of time. Right here, if you notice my model goes away, I went to go get a towel to help dry off my hands because my hands get very sweaty when I am nervous. And holding a controller where you need precise movements, doing that with sweaty hands is not ideal. So right now we have a short, about 2.5 minute cutscene of the telephone trying to kill us and us getting saved by Agent 3, who is one of the... Sorry, I thought my fire alarm was going off for a moment in my building. This is... Is that the fire alarm? No, that's a car backing up. Good to know. So essentially, Agent 3 is the playable character from Splatoon 1, but unfortunately because it's because their customization screen is in the middle of the run, 99% of the time, it's gonna look Agent 3 is gonna look the exact same no matter whose run you're looking at. So, you know, it is what it is. So this begins the escape sequence of the run, and this is, generally speaking, where you have to basically use all of your, I cannot think of the word, all of the known learned strategies from the metro section into escaping this facility and making it to the Promised Land, or in this case, Egopolis. And there are so many ways to lose a run in this sequence, in this run of 7 levels, that I believe I have lost a run on every single stage of this. They are the 3 hardest, in my opinion, are phases 3, 5, and 6. 5 is honestly my favorite because the movement in it is so much fun. 1 and 5 are also the only ones that we have to worry about global timers on. Phase 1's is a little bit more lenient than 5, but still, again, not very lenient. I lost the run on this level about a week prior to this specific run, because I got some of the worst RNG that we've actually seen because of these 2 Octo Troopers. They broke my armor, and then as I'm climbing up here, they killed me. Normally that doesn't happen because we're moving fast enough, so it happens from time to time. This first phase is all about stealth, or at least that's what the game tells you. There's only, I think, 3 or 4 times throughout it that we actually have to worry about stealth. This is one of them right here, because if this Octo Sniper spots us, on each of these platforms will spawn an Octopod, which, as I mentioned in the damage list, if they explode, they will instantly break our armor if they're close enough to us. This is another checkpoint that we have to worry vaguely about stealth, because if that Octo Trooper there to our side sees us, they'll spawn 3 Octo enemies, whatever, right there and essentially block our path. Same thing here, we had to worry about stealth because on this platform, Octopod will spawn, break our armor. And once again, if this guy sees us, he spawns more enemies and can kill us. Here, I just have to wait for the timing to be able to climb this pillar. I did have it once where I lost a significant amount of time because I jumped on that booster a little bit too early and wasn't able to get into the ink and climb the wall. It happens. This is Escape Phase 2, and this is where the most well-known trick of the run is. This is where Octoshot Skip takes place. Octoshot Skip is it's obviously a skip where we have to climb this wall to get to the exit. And normally, the game wants you to get a weapon to do that. But thanks to splat bombs having painting the wall, if you put it close enough to one, you're able to climb that wall and then, with extreme luck, be able to paint a teeny tiny switch on the wall with the explosion ink from a bomb. In terms of luck, it is 100% pure RNG, and we hate it because of it. Essentially, oh yeah, I make a slight misstep here. If you don't have this Octo Trooper in your view, it won't fire directly at you. So normally that only takes 2 shots. It took me 4 there, so not great. But going back to Octoshot Skip, in terms of probability, if done optimally, it's still about a 1 in 10 chance on each bomb throw. So, you know, if you get unlucky enough, say goodbye to your run. There was once a run by the player Hashed Rice, who was, for the longest time, held the Octo expansion any percent no death abuse world record. He was on world record pace coming into this phase. It took him about 50 tries to hit Octoshot Skip losing him about 5 minutes overall and killing his run. But as of right now, I still just go and get the Octo shot because it is far more consistent and maybe loses, I think optimally, say loses 15 seconds over Octo shot skip. I don't know if that's the exact number, that's the number that comes to mind off the top of my head. I also fire 2 quick shots in succession there rather than holding down fire. Holding down fire there means that instead of, I forget, do I die here? No, I take this one safe, yeah. So in my run prior to this, I fell off there because I waited too long on that jump and went the opposite direction. Not fun. But playing it safe there, still lost about 6 seconds to gold, but that's not awful. Up next is Escape 3, one of the other main cycle-based levels. Essentially what we have to do in this phase is that we have to create a path to get to the goal using these moving blocks. I already have a set path of blocks that I take to make it to the end on a fast-ish pace. It's not perfect. It is about, I forget what the exact, I think it's about 10 seconds off of optimal, but it is far more consistent and easier to hit than the optimal time, so I still use it. In terms of how precise this is still, it is just so incredibly precise that words cannot even begin to describe it. If I have a couple small missteps, I am losing, if I had to put a number on it, I'm losing about 30 seconds if I miss this cycle. So as you can see, some simple platforming, but when your hands are sweaty, they are sweaty and your nerves are going. I inked the platform off to my side there because I still have to climb it once I get back onto this platform I just jumped off of. And painting that wall in advance means that I save just a little bit of time and gives me more chance to paint this wall and get up to the platform I need to get to. This final checkpoint is the one where we have, this is the one that dictates our pace, essentially, because we need to platform across all of these blocks, and if we happen to die earlier in the level, these blocks will actually not be spawned in, since they are also on a global timer, so we have to jump off once again, die a second time, just to put them back into a good position. This is Escape Part 4. This is the laser dodging level, the spy-like one, I don't know. This one has a small global cycle that we're trying to hit, but it's not the end of the world if we don't hit it. And it's specifically on this part here. These lasers are constantly moving when you're in the level, so being able to hit them in time is incredibly important. I could have made that jump there a little bit earlier, but I didn't want to push it because I knew that this run was on incredibly good pace and I didn't want to lose it. Right here we do a small trick with game mechanics. If you happen to swim up into a non-passable wall, your Inkling will bonk and basically kill all momentum. So we use that to actually get down to the ground faster than we normally would. I almost died there to one of the lasers, but somehow my hitbox did not hit the lasers, and I lived. So going a little bit slower than this on that split, but man, it was really close to being really bad. So coming up next is Escape Sequence 5. Personally, this is my favorite phase of the escape sequence, because that is really good timing on that song. Wow. So that's actually the song that normally plays during this phase of the game. Cool. Didn't plan that at all. So this is a mechanic that we don't see in Metro, but is actually within it. Where we have to collect eight data points to clear the level. This also brings back the inkjet as the weapon we are using throughout the level, and we use it in multiple different ways to basically platform our way to the end. I did fail the fast strat there, but I have a set backup strategy that works a good majority of the time. I should have taken an extra, I think, no, I was actually good here. Ideally, you get 3 shots there. Some players do 4 just to be safe. I do 3 just to make, just to try to get that little bit of extra time save. And then on this checkpoint, we actually use the exhaust from the inkjet to paint a path for ourselves to get this data point. And I'm looking at that laser in the background to gauge where I am on the global cycle. So if I see that it's going vertically down when I am getting that checkpoint or getting that data point, I know I've hit the cycle that I need to, which you see right there. We have one more data point to get, which is this one that you see facing downwards, and it's just on this grate, so I played it a little bit safer than I normally would, just to make sure I get it. I did have a run, I had a practice session earlier in the day, or maybe the day prior, where I did actually end up missing that, so I didn't want that to happen to me on a PB pace run. Up next is Escape Sequence 5, or Escape Sequence 6, and this is where my other major mistake of the run occurs. Much like the other phases of this has a global cycle that we need to hit, and what ends up happening here is that I make a positioning mistake on the platform that we have to move on that results in the enemies that spawn around me shooting the orb that we need to protect and breaking it. And it happens right before the checkpoint that I need to get to. So it was really heartbreaking for this to happen to me. So where I'm positioned right now, I should be closer to the edge of the platform. But I also don't want to get too close to this ink pack. And that last Octo Trooper just barely clips it at the very end. So they get enough shots on it to where it breaks and leaves me right back at the very beginning. Unfortunately, that does end up losing me about 40 seconds, which is what causes this run to not die, but not be optimal. So I play this one a little bit safer than I did than the one before. I still think, I still ignore these guys, which I maybe shouldn't have done, but it is what it is. I make it through the checkpoint. So this next checkpoint is normally where I have the most trouble, specifically on the second half, where we have to deal with Octo Bombers, which will spit bombs at us. I almost run out of ink there. I'm able to kill that first one, and then use a bomb to get past the second, and barely have enough ink to kill the last one, and somehow get past it without dying. I honestly thought I was going to lose the run on that phase right there, but I didn't. So I was really happy to see that happen. Oh wait, it wasn't a 40-second time loss. It's about 25. No, it is a 40-second. Yeah. So with those lasers, normally, if you spend too much time in them, you're going to die your thing is going to die instantly. But if you're moving at full speed on that, specifically on that second one, it doesn't do enough damage to kill you. So we're able to just go straight through it. So with that, the hardest parts of the escape sequence are done. But we still have one more phase left, and that is Escape 7, the Agent 3 fight. There are ways that this phase can go wrong, and I would know. I've lost runs to it in the past. So it's at this point I realize, okay, 109 isn't happening. Maybe in the future, but not on this run. So I know at this point, just play as I normally do, and I'll be fine. I'll get the 110 that I've been hunting for the past, however long it had been. I think I was on my fifth consecutive day of grinding for this. I slid back there just to keep myself loose, make sure that I'm not stressing out too much, because God knows that stressing over what I'm going to be doing next would be really bad. There's one more skip in the run, and this specifically in this phase. It is called, as we call it, elevator skip. By getting onto this platform here and lining up a jump, when the second black line on the left side of the platform passes, we're able to jump off. We're at a checkpoint where the game will respawn us at the top of the elevator, and it saves us 8 seconds of unskippable text boxes. So now we're into the Agent 3 fight, and essentially what has happened is that Agent 3, the person who has saved us, has been corrupted by the same goo that tried to kill us at the very beginning. Sea Cucumber, Commander Tartar, no, not Sea Cucumber, Commander Tartar, the telephone, whatever you want to call it. So this first phase starts off with a super jump. We throw a bomb right at their feet, and when the bomb explodes at their feet, we only have to hit them 5 more times with our hero shot, or with our splatter shot. Octo shot? Octo shot, that's what it's called. The second phase, they are in a baller, and we are trying to basically break them out of it. Third phase is they had the weapon known as a Stingray. We just throw a bomb up there, same thing as the first phase. Last phase starts off the same as the first with a splashdown, as you can see here. I throw the bomb at their feet, shoot them in the head, and well, that's not time, but that's essentially the end of time. From the text, Agent 3 defeated to the end of the run is exactly 9 minutes 9 seconds, or vaguely 9 minutes 9 seconds. It's closer to 9 minutes 8 3/4 seconds, but we don't really worry about specifics. So from here, I know that my best possible time is a 1:10:40, and as long as I don't die on the ending fight, I'm good. So we have about 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes of unskippable cutscenes coming up, and that is normally just time for me to reflect on the run, look back and see what I could have done better, what went really well, etc. So essentially what this cutscene entails is our Octoling finally making it to the surface after being stuck underground. I believe it's actually at sunrise, not sunset, like I originally thought. Yeah, is it sunrise? It is at sunrise, cool, I was right about that. And then this is where we have the 2 idols who have been helping us throughout this entire thing, Pearl and Marina, finally make their physical appearance in the DLC. And there they are, on their set of helicopters. Why they have so many, I don't know. So from here, they take us away from this, what we've assumed to be just a facility to take us away from whatever. But as Pearl and Captain Cuttlefish are rapping away, our Octoling looks back after hearing a noise, and we see what looks like a statue starting to come out of the surface. Yeah, so this is the final boss of Splatoon 2 Octo expansion. This is it's not Sea Cucumber, you idiot. It's Commander Tartar. He is a sentient AI that is essentially trying to end the world so that he can restart humanity's legacy. Yeah, it's a little dark, but you know what? It is what it is. Yeah, there's Commander Tartar. Yeah, the pun's obviously there. Tartar sauce. Anyways, So essentially, this final boss fight is us having to cover the entire statue in ink before time runs out, and we do that via shooting bombs. It's a weird final fight, but it's fun. It's honestly it's a nice relief, or it's a nice it's basically the entire other extreme to the hero mode run for this game, in which the final boss, DJ Octavio, is completely RNG in terms of what attacks he'll do, to the point where it varies up to 2 minutes. This one is always going to be 3 minutes. This fight's always going to be 3 minutes. This split's always going to be 9 minutes 9 seconds. There is no variation whatsoever. So yeah, I still have about 2 minutes until I start playing, because again, this cutscene takes forever. Back at AGDQ 2019, the runner, as I mentioned before, Tones Blones, he became quite famous for literally flossing for this entire cutscene after people donated it to see him floss for 6 minutes straight. It is what it is. Obviously, since this is a virtual event and I'm a VTuber, I won't be able to do that, but, you know, who knows? If I do happen to get accepted, maybe I'll do something. I would like to talk about a possible donation incentive, much like Tones did in 2019. I'd like to submit the Inner Agent 3 boss, secret boss fight as a donation incentive. I don't have an exact value on how much it would be, but Inner Agent 3 is commonly referred to as the hardest boss in Splatoon history. It is an extremely difficult fight that requires an extreme amount of precision, with it basically being a fight that is built against you. You are meant to fail it several times over. Honestly, it's a very good way to end off the run. It's actually the manner in which we actually end off the all missions run and the 100% run of this category. And you know, itself as a fight could take anywhere from 2 minutes to like 15, honestly, depending on if I play well or not. But it's a really fun fight to demonstrate what like really high level Splatoon can look like without going into multiplayer. So I'm about 10 seconds out from starting the final boss right now, and basically Marina is explaining, hey, where each of these logos show up, there's going to be a bomb, and you have 3 minutes to shoot them all before the world literally ends. But because I know I have the time to do it, I start drawing the numbers 110 in celebration, because, again, I'd grinded for 5 days straight at this point to get this time, and I wasn't about to let the celebration go. So yeah, I think seeing Octo expansion at GDQ would be amazing once again. Hopefully I'd have a chance of being Tones Balloons this time of 1 hour 12 seconds flat from AGDQ 2019. You know, with Splatoon 3 with Splatoon 3 having just released, I fully expect that game to get in, but I would like to see a Splatoon block come back, or have a Splatoon block come back, or not come back, be it at GDQ for the first time. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to describe about this boss fight. It's an auto-scroller, we know where everything is gonna be, so you know, it is what it is. It's gonna be, as I mentioned before, it's 3 minutes. No in between. At this point, I'm literally just waiting for the next round of bombs to spawn in 7 seconds. And then, once I get this round of 5 bombs, we have 10 bombs left on its head, of which we actually have a minute to detonate them all. We only need about 30 seconds to get them all. So I get these 5 here, and I put myself, I prep myself for the last run. I almost jump off there, which is embarrassing, but which would have been very embarrassing, but didn't have to worry about it. So with 1 minute left on the timer, we get into, as I said, the final... Can I stop getting perfectly timed stuff? So, last minute, got 10 bombs to detonate. I have a pattern. There's two main patterns, or there's two main strategies for this last phase. The one I do, which starts you off at one end, and another strategy which starts you at the other. So at this point, I'm counting down with 2 bombs left, 1 bomb left, and then the last one, which is right there. So at this point, as long as I don't fall off the statue and die, that's personal best for me. So I wait, make sure I jump off at the correct time, go down, and finish off making the number 110. Right there. It's not my best, but look off at the sunrise as time comes to a close with a personal best time of 1:10:40, which puts me, I believe, currently at 12th place on the leaderboards. So yeah, that's Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, any percent no death abuse. I hope you consider it for AGDQ 2023. That's weird to say. But yeah, I've been Alpha Omega, and I hope you guys consider this for the marathon. Thank you.